Welcome to the Kwibuka podcast, written by Dr. Jean Damascène Bizimana, minister at Minubumwe, and recorded by Josue Ishema. After years of research, he has collected and compiled information on different actions that led to the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. In today's episode, we will talk about the role of public institutions on the preparation and execution of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsis. The preparation for the genocide committed against the Tutsi took place in various sectors of Rwanda. The most powerful state institutions served as places for the torture of Tutsi individuals, violation of their fundamental rights, financing of the genocide, and in many cases, as training grounds for militias, particularly in agricultural project areas, tea plantations, university campuses, and major factories such as Bralirwa, Simirwa, Osir Tea, Osir Cafe, and others. Here are some notable facts regarding the genocidal process since October 1990, which involved public institutions of the Rwandan state. In March 1991, the Nsele Accords were signed in Zaire between the RPF and the Rwandan government. One of the clauses of this agreement stipulated the release of all detainees arrested during the war and the exchange of prisoners of war between the RPF and the government. Those detained on charges of being accomplices were also to enjoy all their fundamental rights, including reinstatement in the employment positions they held before their arrest. Some public institutions adhered to this clause, while others did not respect it. Some institutions were compelled to reintegrate individuals who were unjustly arrested following pleas from international organizations to President Habyarimana. The names of the institutions that refused to reinstate their employees are the following. Orenfort refused to reinstate 10 agents, including Jean-Paul Kamananga, Prudence Kandama, Assumpta Karangwa, Violette Murorunkwere, Jean Nturo, Thérèse Nyirantagorama, Caliste Ruhigira, André Sebanani, Claudette Umutanguha, and Angelique Umutoni. Electrogaz refused to reinstate 4 agents, including Noël Vunani, Bertin Muhizi, Edouard Murenzi, and Deogratias Twagirimana. Banque Nationale du Rwanda refused to reinstate 6 agents, including Jacques Wirori, Jean Berkmas Kayumba, Jean-Pierre Munyakazi, Emmanuel Ntagengerwa, Hyacinthe Nzungize, and Jean-Baptiste Rugengamanzi. ONAPO refused to reinstate Sophie Sabakunzi and Jean d'Arc Mukansanga because their husbands had been detained on the grounds of being accomplices of the RPF. 2 more agents from the Gisenyi ONAPO were also denied reinstatement. The genocide plan had been laboriously devised, and the planners had observed that its dissemination in Butare, Cyangugu, and Gikongoro would be challenging given that members of the PSD and MDR political parties largely dominated these prefectures. The prefectures of Butare and Gikongoro in particular were strongholds of the PSD, with its founders Félicien Gatabazi and Frédéric Nzamurambaho being natives of these regions and widely appreciated by the population. The MDR also had a significant number of members among the residents of this area who historically felt closer to this party than to the MRND, considered as the party of the Wachiga, people from the north. Additionally, influential personalities from Butare were esteemed by the citizens, such as Professor Rumia, who had left the MRND due to the regional and ethnic discrimination advocated by that party. In Gikongoro, there were more MDR members than within the MRND, as one of its leaders, Emmanuel Gapchisi, hailed from the region. Furthermore, the prefect Joseph Habiyambere, who led this prefecture, was a dictator from Gisenyi. All these reasons led the citizens of Butare and Gikongoro to oppose the MRND-CDR coalition. Therefore, the MRND-CDR coalition devised maneuvers to deploy their Interahamwe members there, preparing them for the genocide. What was their strategy? Initially, the government appointed high-ranking officials from Gisenyi and Ruhengeri who were members of the MRND-CDR, to various public services. These officials then recruited Interahamwe into the public institutions they led, providing them with military training. The allocation of these leadership positions to MRND-CDR members was orchestrated by Nzirorera, Minister of Industry, Trade, Mines, and Handicrafts at the time. He was in collusion with the high-ranking members of the Akazu, the circle of high-ranking officials close to or members of the presidential family, particularly with Michel Bagaragaza, a Gisenyi native and director of the OCRT, one of the genocide planners who pleaded guilty in Arusha. They began implementing this plan in 1992 and continued it over the next 2 years. This strategy of infiltration was also deployed in other densely populated prefectures with Tutsi populations such as Kibuye and Kibungo. In Gikongoro, the Mata factory was entrusted to Juvenal Ndabarinze, the Kitabi factory to Denise Kamodoka, and the Shili Kivu factory to Stanislas Niyibizi. All these directors were natives of Ruhengeri and members of the MRND-CDR. Individuals recruited based on the same criteria led the most significant agricultural and livestock projects. The Gikongoro Agricultural Development Project, PDAG, was assigned to Charles Ndereyehe from Ruhengeri, and the project named Kret Zail Nil to Galikan Hategeka from Gisenyi, who was later replaced by Celestin Mutabaruka from Ruhengeri, an influential Interahamwe. Upon their arrival in Gikongoro, these directors of factories and agricultural projects recruited Interahamwe from Gisenyi and Ruhengeri so that, at the opportune moment, they could be mobilized directly for the execution of the genocide. They worked only a few days in the factories and spent most of their time undergoing military training. The coordinator of all these operations was Prefect Joseph Habiyambere, who came to Gikongoro after his role as the Director General of the General Intelligence Service. For this plan to succeed optimally, military camps and the gendarmerie units were entrusted to extremist commanders. In Gikongoro, Captain Faustin Sewuhura was appointed, while in Butare, Captain Ildefonse Nizeimana was appointed. They received their political instructions from Jean Bosco Barayagwiza. These three individuals were from Mutura. Other major public institutions in Gikongoro were also led by members of the MRND-CDR. Electrogaz, for example, was assigned to Silver Ayurugari, a native of Ruhengeri, and the SOS establishment was entrusted to Venuste Nyombaire, originally from Yumba, who currently resides in France. Nyombaire was transferred to Gikongoro by the MRND to escape legal persecution after massacring Tutsi in Bugesera in 1992, where he served as sub-prefect. This was an attempt to shield him from human rights organizations. All these individuals would be heavily involved in 1994 genocide. Training sessions took place in the Nyungwe forest and the tea factories of Mata and Kitabi. Palipehutu rebels also trained there to attack Burundi. The training was conducted by military personnel from the Non-Commissioned Officer School, ESO, in Butare and the Gendarmerie in Gikongoro. These Interahamwe were the ones who initiated the first massacres of Tutsi in Gikongoro, particularly in the communes of Kitabi, Mata, Kibeho, Murambi, Kyanika, Kaduha, and Buga. Even before the genocide, they were employed to terrorize the population. As we mentioned earlier, the Habyarimana regime feared Butare because this city was the stronghold of the PSD. To conquer Butare, the government appointed members of the MRND-CDR from Ruhengeri and Gisenyi to leadership positions in public services to facilitate the spread of the genocide ideology. The National University of Rwanda was a large institution with 2 campuses in Butare and Ruhengeri. The regime utilized it for the dissemination of hatred ideology against the Tutsi, the intimidation of the opposition, and the ideological mobilization of professors, staff, and students to prepare them for the execution of the genocide. To achieve this, The regime ensured the appointment of trusted individuals, primarily from Gisenyi and Ruhengeri, or declared adherents of Hutu power ideology to head various organs of the university. These individuals were as follows. The rector, Maurice Ntahobari, was retained in his position because he was originally from Butare, a region he was familiar with. He was an influential member of the MRND, as was his wife, Pauline Nyiramasuko, who served as the Minister of Family. Ntahobari had vice-rectors from the northern part of the country, namely Dr. Jean Damascène from the commune of Butaro in Ruhengeri. He lived on the Butare campus and infamously played a role during the 1994 genocide. Another vice-rector was Alphonse Murego from Gisenyi, who headed the Nyakinama campus in Ruhengeri. The university's secretary-general was Charles Ntakirutinka from Gikongoro, a member of the PSD. He had two extremist deputies, one in Butare, Alphonse Rudatsikira, from Kigali in Mugambazi commune, and the other in Nyakinama, Eugène Sano, from Butare. Both were extremist members of the MRND. Denis Mutagoma, a member of the CDR from Kayove, Gisenyi, was the head of the personnel at the University of Butare. And finally, the head of personnel at the Nyakinama campus was Annonciata Kuradusenge, a member of the MDR, originally from Ruhengeri in Nyamutera commune. Faculty leaders also included members of the MRND-CDR or MDR power. Those were as follows. Alois Muhawenimana, in agronomy from Ruhengeri, a member of the MRND. Jean-Baptiste Katabarwa in applied science from Ruhengeri, an MRND member. François Xavier Bangamwabo in letters from Byumba, an MRND member. Ezekiel Visarinkumi in the pharmacy department from Kibuye, an MDR power member. Jean Gakwaya in the law department from Byumba, an MRND member. Alphonse Karemera in the medicine department from Gitarama, an MDR power member. Dr. Karemera supervised the massacres at the University Hospital in Butare, collaborating with Dr. Jonathan Hakizumuremyi, Eugène Rwamucyo, Sosten Munyemana, and others. Sosten Munyemana was sentenced in December 2023 to 24 years in prison by the Paris Assize Court in France for his role in the genocide in Butare. Among others who distinguished themselves in preparing the genocide in Butare as officials or agents of public institutions are Dr. Nshimyumuremyi Jean Berkmas, the vice-rector of the university; Sylvain, head of intelligence in Butare; Musabirema Cyprien, head of the Regional Information Center in Butare; Ushishi Mathias, prosecutor of the Butare Prosecutor's Office; Kanyabashi Joseph, mayor of Ngoma Commune; Hakizamungu Jean-Baptiste, sub-prefect, responsible for legal, political, and administrative affairs in the Butare Prefecture; Mbituyemungu Deo, director of Onatracom Butare; Harindinwari Pierre Celestin, inspector of civil buildings in Butare; Nyangui Viateur, inspector in the Butare district; Ruzindaza Jean-Baptiste, president of the Butare High Court; Munyeragwe Faustin, director of Butare Prison, and many others, including professors, staff, students, and doctors at Butare and the University Hospital. The intelligence service in Butare was entrusted to Sylvain Harindinwari, originally from Butare Muganza commune, who embraced the CDR ideology. He worked closely with Captain Nizeyimana to sabotage Prefect Jean-Baptiste Habyarimana's mission and prepare for the genocide. The commander of the gendarmerie in Butare was Major Syriac Habyarabatuma, originally from Gikongoro, with his deputy being Major Alfred Rusigariye, a high-ranking extremist from Gisenyi. Major Rusigariye collaborated closely in the massacres with Lieutenant Colonel Tarsis Muvunyi, the commander of the non-commissioned officers' school, and their intelligence deputy, Captain Ildefonse Nizeyimana. They were supported by other military personnel from Gisenyi and Ruhengeri, including Lieutenant Jean-Pierre Bizimana, who killed Queen Mother Rosalie Gichanda. Second Lieutenant Niyonheze Fabien, who served as the deputy to Lieutenant Ildefonse Hategekimana at the Ngoma camp, also participated in the extermination of the Tutsi in Butare. Other genocide collaborators who played a role in the genocide preparation in Butare as members of security organs include Lieutenant Hategekimana Alphonse, commander of Kongoma, Second Lieutenants Modeste Gatsinzi and Ezekiel Gakwerere, Alphonse Dayambaje and Tarsis Ngendahimana, Chief Warrant Officers François Ntibiramira, Damien Ntamuhanga, Nyirimanzi and Paul Kanyeshyamba, Sergeant Major Innocent Sibomana, Sergeant Ezekiel Gwaza, Corporals Fulgence Niyibizi, Theobald Hagenimana, Placide Mbarushimana, Jean de Dieu Mutimura, Edison, Said, Mandela and Bola Mongu. These military personnel resided at the Non-Commissioned Officers School and trained numerous Interahamwe under the authority of Captain Nizeyimana to commit the genocide. Among these Interahamwe were individuals which included Jean-Marie Vianney Ngabonziza, Diogène Dusabe, Faustin Niyonzima, Calixte Rubaya, and more. A Presidential Guard unit was also deployed to ensure the security of Dr. Serafin Bararengana, the younger brother of President Habyarimana, who was receiving medical treatment at the University Hospital in the city. Military personnel wounded on the battlefield were sent there. During the genocide, these soldiers committed unspeakable atrocities against the Tutsi, claiming revenge for the authors of their handicaps during the war. In Nyanza, the commander of the Territorial Gendarmerie Brigade, Captain François-Xavier Birikunzira, originally from Gitarama, collaborated with Sub-Prefect Gaetan Kaitana from Cyangugu to exterminate the Tutsi. They utilized gendarmes from the group and Interahamwe from that commune. Among the key figures responsible for the genocide in Nyanza, it is important to mention Father Hormisdas Nsengimana, the director of Christ Roi College, originally from the commune of Kinyamakara in Gikongoro. He closely collaborated with Sub-Prefect Kaitana and Captain Birikunzira, establishing a group of killers nicknamed the Dragons, including Simon Kalinda, César Munyarubuga, François Sebukaire, Cyprien Gazati, and Phineas, who served as the discipline prefect at Christ Roi College. Another group of killers led by Hormisdas Nsengimana massacred countless Tutsi, including 4 priests from Nyanza, Jean Bosco Irirwahandi, Innocent Nyangezi, Calixte Uitonze, and Mathieu Ngirumpatse. The latter, an elderly man, was killed with a pistol by Father Hormisdas himself. Other major figures responsible for the genocide in Nyanza, either as officials or agents of public institutions, include Dr. Celestin Higiro, also known as Majambe, the medical director of Nyanza Hospital, Kaitana Gaetan, sub-prefect in charge of the Nyanza sub-prefecture, Captain François-Xavier Birikunzira, commander of the Nyanza Gendarmerie, Faustin Bereye, director of Emaktrogaz in Nyanza, also originally from Ruhengeri, Kinigi commune, and currently in prison in Mpanga for genocide, Dr. Calixte Mirasano, director of the National Dairy in Nyanza, originally from Ruhengeri, Ndusu commune. He sought refuge in Zambia. Apollinaire Barihuta, also known as Tubirimo, the director of the Nyanza Forge. Pierre Ndimumakuwa, councillor at the Nyanza Court of Appeal, originally from Ruhengeri. Anaclet Nkundimfura, agent of the Nyanza Court of Appeal. Nzasabimfura Jeremy, chief prosecutor of Nyanza. Gahamanyi Jean-Baptiste, director of Nyanza Prison. Twagirayezu Jean, vice president at the High Court of Nyanza. Jean Damascène Bizimana, secretary at the Nyanza Sub-Prefecture. Mabura Nturo, director of the Commercial Bank of Rwanda in Nyanza. Frédéric Rwagasore, director of the School of Sciences in Nyanza. He was sentenced and served a 19-year prison term for genocide. Augustin Nyamurindi, director of the Nyanza Primary Teacher Training College. Eugène Kayisire, medical assistant at the Nyanza Hospital, currently residing in Malawi. Augustin Twagirimana, also known as Terrible, he was a professor at Christ Roi College in Murama Gitarama. Gervais Nyirinkwaya, president of the Nyanza High Court. Emmanuel Rumonge, judge at the Nyanza Canton Court. The specifics of Dr. Calixte Mirasano's involvement, director of the Nyanza Dairy and originally from the commune of Ndusu in Ruhengeri, is that upon his arrival in Nyanza, He ordered the national dairy he led to stop buying milk from Tutsi farmers in Nyanza and surrounding communes such as Rusatira, Nyazo, Ruhashya, Muyira, and others. Instead, he ordered the purchase of milk from Gishwati in the northern part of the country. This decision aimed to starve Tutsi farmers in Butare, which did indeed occur as they no longer had selling centers to dispose of their cattle's milk. Mirasano was an intimate friend of Joseph Nzirorera, who held several high-ranking positions as a minister. The Rwandese match company, Sorgwar, in Butare was led by Alphonse Higaniro, originally from Gaseke in Gisenyi, and husband to Alphonsine Mukakamanzi, who happened to be the daughter of Dr. Emmanuel Akingeneye, President Habyarimana's personal physician. Mukakamanzi was a member of the SEDER despite coming from a mixed marriage, a Hutu father and a Tutsi mother. Higaniro was appointed on February 13, 1992, replacing Mathieu Ngirira, also from Gisenyi. Nzirorera and Mathieu Ngirumatse, the chairman of the board of directors of Sorgwar, played a significant role in Higaniro's appointment in Butare. Upon his arrival at Sorgwar, Higaniro worked to favor extremist agents who were members of MRND-SEDER and originated from the north, meaning Gisenyi and Ruhengeri. He tasked Martin Dusabe, the technical director of Sorgwar and the native of Mutura in Gisenyi, with convincing his friends from the south to share the same genocidal plan. Dusabe, a close friend of Higaniro, acted in this interim position in his absence. Jean-Bernard Chiza from Ruhengeri was also in the crosshairs, a member of MRND-SEDER, bearing significant responsibility during the genocide. Innocent Huyugatsi, originally from Ruhengeri, was another major perpetrator who was hired in September 1, 1993. In charge of product quality control in the factory, Huyugatsi had a military background at the ESO and was demobilized following a traffic accident. He was recruited to Sorgwar under the influence of Captain Nizeyimana, who was his friend. Higaniro's strategy of hiring Interahamwe from Butare also proved successful, as many of them actively participated in the genocide. The first was Jean-Baptiste Sebarinda, originally from the Kibayi commune. He was appointed as the administrative and financial director by Higaniro on September 9, 1992. He was a member of MDR Power and held an account with the Civil Self-Defense opened on June 15, 1994 by the Sindikugao government at the Kigali Bank in Butare branch, at the Kigali Bank, a Butare branch. Another Sorgwar agent from this faction is Ladislas Muhutu, a former FAR from the Ngoma commune, who was hired on December 7, 1993 as Higaniro's bodyguard. Other Interahamwe agents hired by Higaniro at Sorgwar include Pierre Nsabimana, the chief accountant, Jacques Habimana, storekeeper originally from the Nyakizu commune. He had significant responsibility during the genocide. Jean-Paul Kamavu, originally from rural Kigali and a member of MRND. Kamavu was hired at Sorgwar as the commercial director on September 9, 1992, the same day as Sebarinda. Edouard Niyitegeka, originally from Cyangugu, he was renowned for eliminating his wife to set an example that no Tutsi should survive in Rwanda even if she was the mother of his children. Jacques Habimana, appointed sector advisor for Ngoma by Mayor Kanyabashi, replacing Said Munyankumburwa, a Tutsi and member of the PL who had just been killed. He also became a notorious genocide collaborator with Sorgwar agents. At Izar Rubona, the extremist regime preparing for the genocide appointed Charles Ndereyehe, originally from Ruhengeri. He was transferred from the PDAG project based in Gikongoro to prepare the Interahamwe for the genocide in Rwanda, just as he had done in Gikongoro. Upon arriving in Rwanda, Ndereyehe surrounded himself with hired killers to whom he assigned positions of responsibility. They, in turn, recruited other Interahamwe in various departments of Izar for which they were responsible, including small maintenance works in agricultural experimentation and livestock fields. The previously mentioned technique of dispersing the Interahamwe was applied throughout all units of Izar, from Rwanda to general management and its branches, such as Songa, with its cattle breed research station in Karama in Bugesera. Izar Rwerere also saw this implementation. Among the senior officials of Izar who played a role during the genocide were Venant Rutunga, regional director, originally from Ruhengeri. He personally murdered numerous Tutsi in 1994. Joseph Murindangabo, station chief of Izar Rwanda, originally from Gitarama. He was a member of the PSD Power. Pierre Nyabyenda, scientific director, originally from Rushyashya in Butare. He was also a member of the PSD Power. Didas Mugemana, head of personnel. He was a player on the Mukura team and was also a member of the PSD Power. Jean Damascène Bizimana, financial director, originally from Ruhengeri. He was a member of the MRND and actively participated in the genocide in Rwanda. These perpetrators cannot be mentioned without acknowledging that other agents, albeit in small numbers, who refused to adhere to the ideology of the genocide at the cost of their lives. Other agents included Jean-Marie Vianney Gisagara, the mayor of the Nyabisindu commune, who opposed the massacres of Tutsi and was executed for it. There is also the late Narcisse Nyagasaza, the mayor of Nyazo, who was killed along with the residents he was trying to save by taking them to Burundi. A significant portion of the population in Cyangugu adhered to the CEDER because its founder Martin Bucyana was originally from this prefecture. Other residents were members of the MRND and collaborated with the prefect Emmanuel Bagambiki, who was in connection with high-ranking officials residing in Kigali, such as André Nagerura, Minister of Transport and Communication, Félicien Barigira, former MRND deputy, and more. In Cyangugu, the organizers of the genocide relied on the Shagasha tea factory, but especially on the Rwanda cement factory, Simerwa, in Bugarama, where many Interahamwe from Gisenyi and Ruhengeri worked. The Simerwa had become a family property used for the purpose of committing genocide. Additional relevant facts follow. In 1991, Simerwa appointed a new general manager, Marcel Sebatware, originally from Ruhengeri, a native of the Mukingo commune on the same hill as Minister Nzirorera. Nzirorera promoted him by appointing him director of Simerwa. Before this appointment, he worked on the maintenance of electrical installations as an electrical engineer. Marcel Sebatware was also General Deogratias Nsabimana's nephew, the Rwandan Army's chief of staff. He was also a member of the CEDER. To prepare for the genocide, Sebatware placed his trusted men at Simerwa, including his brother-in-law, Theoneste Sebageni, and his wife, Claudine. Between 1992 and 1994, out of 20 directors and department heads, 8 directors and 11 department heads were from Gisenyi and Ruhengeri. Gaspar Kazungu, Nzirorera's cousin, was in charge of civil engineering, in a necessary position in a cement manufacturing plant. His wife, Laurence Mukankaka, who was said to be the daughter of Laurence Manza, the mayor of Bichumbi commune and intimate friend of Habyarimana and Nzirorera, worked in the personnel department. Other employees from the northern part of the country, a stronghold of the regime, were promoted to prepare for the genocide. These include Jean-Pierre Mozembizi, originally from Gwerere in Gisenyi. He was an electrical engineer, a CEDER member. He was then promoted to head of the electricity department. Asumani Ntibankundie, originally from the commune of Gwerere in Gisenyi, a CEDER member, he was promoted to head of the machine maintenance department. David Wilson Husi, originally from Huli in Ruhengeri, was hired in 1993 as a logistics manager and at the same time an informer. He was Marcel Sebatware's cousin. Casimir Ndorimana was the head of all engineers. Jean Uwayezu, originally from Ruhengeri, was an accountant hired at Simerwa on January 1st, 1992. He was a SEDER member. Pascal Naumenyumunsi was originally from Gisenyi and a SEDER member. He was hired on January 6th, 1992. High-ranking officials from other prefectures also became Interahamwe who collaborated with extremists from the northern part of the country to commit genocide, such as Paul Ndacyayisenga, originally from Gafunzo in Cyangugu, who was an engineer in charge of the laboratory. After the establishment of this circle, the genocide was prepared and implemented at Simerwa and in its surroundings, such as Bugarama and other communes in Cyangugu. The leaders of the Simerwa genocide, under the responsibility of its general manager, Marcel Sebatware, who is currently in Belgium, collaborated with the Bugarama origin in Interahamwe, including Elias Bakundukize and Yusuf Munyakazi, both traders in Bugarama. Bakundukize and Munyakazi were from the same sector of Gwamatamu in the former Kibuye prefecture, which could explain why, in 1994, they filled vehicles with militiamen to bring them to commit genocide in Kibuye, specifically in Bisesero. The Interahamwe who committed the genocide in Cyangugu were trained in Bugarama and at the Shagashati factory. Military instructors were provided by Lieutenant Samuel Imanishimwe, who commanded the Cyangugu camp. Training primarily took place in 1993. To conclude, it should be noted that the former chief executive officer of the T office, Michel Bagaragaza, pleaded guilty on September 17, 2009 at the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda. He acknowledged that the tea factories under his responsibility played a key role in the preparation and execution of the genocide, and that he himself played a leading role. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison on November 17, 2009. He completed his sentence in a Swedish prison. Check out the rest of our podcast and share them with others